Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Game with Hal. Today, I welcome a special guest, Luke Kerr-Dineen. Luke has covered golf for Golf Digest, but his background is one that many don't know. Me personally, I've watched some of Luke's videos, preparing for my personal experience in the golf world. It's truly an honor to have Luke on this episode, and I'm excited for the insight that he will bring. So welcome in, Luke, and thank you for joining me today.
No worries, Hal. Thank you for having me. I hope the videos are helping your game a little bit.
Of course, they are. Love the advice, and it's just still simple stuff that you could put in that don't necessarily need to change the whole swing for.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of strategy stuff, a lot of trying to help golfers play better golf.
Like that, I like the numbers part too. I'm a big numbers guy, so whenever I could bring in some numbers, I always like to do it.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, that's a big focus of mine, trying to quantify stuff, like not just for so long golfers just focused on witchcraft, right? Like, oh, this swing tip will help you just because I'm not really interested in that stuff. I'm not a coach. I'm a journalist trying to figure out which coaches are saying the right things and have data to back it up.
All right, so my first question for you, when you make videos, your videos aren't 40-minute sessions trying to explain the ins and bits about your swing path or your club head face. They're more videos of how you can use the mental game and how your game could be just like the pros game. So how do you make your videos to be relatable to all levels of golfers?
So yeah, it's a great question. The way I think about it is that pros are like the experts in their craft, right? Like, of course, coaches are too, but when I see a pro like a Scotty Scheffler out there, he has mastered this thing that we're all trying to get good at. So in some ways, it's true. Like, no, we're not going to hit a golf ball like Scotty Scheffler, not yet anyway. But we can learn from what he's doing because he is operating at the very top of this sport. He is playing golf the best possible way of anybody right now. So the way I treat it is like asking them, getting to know them, reporting out around the question of how did you do this? How did you get so good? And it's kind of very much a North Star for me, trying to figure out how they got so good in the first place and what they're doing that the rest of us can learn from a little bit.
Right. And it seems like you're at every golf event every weekend and you get those access to talk to the pros. How do you use that data and those conversations that you take in with the pros to maybe look at it from the golfer's point of view and not just the journalistic point of view to get that quote or two out there?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, at the base level, I just am a golf nerd, always have been. Really wanted to get on tour when I was in high school, and obviously just quickly learned I was not good enough. But at the core, I'm just a golf nerd who wants to get better at golf, right? So I just kind of I think in that way, I'm in some ways a extension of the audience that I'm trying to inform, in that I'm just trying to learn how these guys got good. And it's pretty hot, and it's pretty easy to kind of relate that to the audience, at least in my mind, because it's something that I'm always thinking about too. Like, I want to get better this Friday. And so when I see somebody doing some detail that looks really interesting and different, my head immediately goes to, why are you doing that? Is that making you a better putter or whatever? So again, it's just like, it's coming up from a very selfish perspective. I'm just trying to get better at golf. I want to know how you got so good at golf. That's kind of where I come up with a lot of the stuff.
Right. And a way you could do that is, yes, you're getting better, but you're also sharing your perspective through almost a storytelling lens where you're not just giving them facts and saying, oh, when you three putt less than once around, your scores on average go down by 3 strokes. You give it from a storytelling perspective. So what is it like to go into that storytelling mindset when you're recording a podcast or a video?
Yeah, it's a good question. So like, I sit down and I focus a lot on like story structure, basically. Like, if I can pull out one or maybe 2 examples, real world examples of a golfer doing the thing that I'm trying to help. Basically, I'm trying to establish what is the thing I want the user to understand, the audience to understand here. And like, what is the data I have to back it up? And then finally, like, what is one or two examples, real world examples that completely and perfectly show this thing? And it all comes down to structure, right? Like, you're trying to make an argument, you're trying to share a point of view in many ways, but then you're trying to validate that point of view and then make it simple to understand. And that the examples help make it simple to understand. The points that help, validate the argument is kind of the meat of the video. But yeah, in many ways, it's people walking away with that one real world perspective that helps summarize the whole thing as a one sentence kind of imprint in their mind.
Right. And you don't just do the video and the storytelling, but you talk on a podcast, you do the video, obviously, and you can also write. How do you think your perspective and the way you get your perspective across is different from all the medias that you do?
Yeah, it's funny. That is a prerequisite now of being a sports journalist. Like, you need to be able to do all of these things. Well, like, if you aren't able to if you aren't able to do video, aren't able to do audio, or aren't able to write, then you are just doing, like, if your job is a pie chart, you just aren't good at that one part of your pie chart. So I'm not really good. I wouldn't consider myself very good at any of them, but I try to be good at all of them too, and that's something that I don't think I have like a mastery in one kind of element of that. As far as like, I think the unifying thing for me is that I'm trying to uncover little insights from the pros and from coaches and try to make them understandable for the rest of us, for golfers, right? Like, that's kind of what I do. I'm a golfer, I'm a journalist, but I'm also a golfer first. My audience is golfers, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to like find stuff and then say, hey, we could learn from this thing I just found. And I think that that's the unifying thing across all these different platforms that I kind of appear on.
Right. And it's so much easier too when it's something you're interested in. You can just sit down and talk with a buddy about that. People do all the time. It makes it so natural in that feeling. So when you were given the opportunity to cover golf, you almost felt like you had to take it, but explain me through the steps it took to get into the market of golf.
Yeah, so I did a couple internships. I worked for my student newspaper. I thought I really wanted to cover politics for a while. I was on the national news desk at USA Today as an intern. I was on the breaking news desk and the national news desk. And then my second internship was at Newsweek Daily Beast, where I covered international politics and then domestic politics, as an intern. I really thought what I wanted to be. But then after actually doing it and covering some elections and stuff as a kind of freelance, I realized, this is horrible. Sports is just way more fun. And I was lucky in that I had a background in golf. I went to the International Junior Golf Academy, so I knew the game itself very well, but I kind of benched that for a while and really focused on the journalism part. And then it was right after grad school, when I graduated from Columbia Journalism School, that I was like, wanted to put these two things together. I wasn't dead set at starting in golf necessarily. I think I wanted to do sports, but because of my background, I just kind of found my way into golf, first at Golf Digest, and then I left and went back to USA Today for a bit, and then ended up back at Golf Digest. And so, at USA Today, I got to cover lots of different sports, but golf has always kind of been where my heart is.
Right. And as you mentioned, politics, you got to do a lot of tough conversations and cover stuff that is really tense at points. And that's almost the same as a golfer, even though it's not the same stage that politics are necessarily. Golfers can get really tensed up when they're about to play in a big tournament, or get really defensive because it's just them by themselves. Just like in politics, most of the time, it's one person representing themselves. How did they kind of connect, and how did you learn from those early experiences that helped you in the golf world?
Well, I think a lot of the journalists, for instance, that I really looked up to are still in politics. Someone like Ezra Klein, right? Where, he really got going with the Wonk blog at Washington Post, and, where he was making these really complex things understandable. And the unifying thing here, and I know people may say, well, what does golf have to do with politics? And I totally hear you, but the things that happen at the political level have real world consequences for everybody else, and they're often quite complicated. Now, golf is far less important than what's happening in the political world, but same kind of thing, right? Like, a golfer wants to get better on Friday they want to figure out how to do that, and they're also trying to figure out how this complicated game can be made a little simpler for them. So just that process of explaining things and making the complicated simple, I think my grounding of that came from my initially news background, and I think that that's what helps me in golf today.
Right. And in golf, you have to talk to a ton of different personalities. Someone who takes the game really seriously versus someone who just is going out there with the mindset of, I'm playing golf. What's the worst that could happen? Yes, they're both good to have out there and both good to cover, but how do you change the way that you cover someone depending on if someone just finished up a bad round or if someone's riding high or just different personalities?
Yeah, it can be really tricky, especially from what I do, because I focus a lot on the nerdy stuff, right? Like swing stuff, data stuff. And there are just some guys who love talking to me, love getting deep into it, and there are other guys who just truly don't want to think that deeply about the game, and that's totally fine too. But yeah, like I think that there's just an element of just having to like read the situation, right? Like there's a time and a place for certain of these conversations. But after somebody's just played a really bad round, they probably aren't super into going deep into their swing right now. So I think it really comes down to establishing a little bit of trust as a journalist first, like that when they know you're coming, like they kind of have an idea of what you're going to get at, so if somebody sees me coming, they kind of know that I'm going to start asking them about course strategy and golf swing stuff, right? Like that's just kind of what I do. And I think there's just a certain amount of reps involved with, and listen, like sometimes I still strike out all the time. Like the nature of it is sometimes I ask questions about, oh, I noticed this, what are you working on? And they say, I have no idea why I do that. And if you're not willing to look a little stupid sometimes and strike out, then you're not going to end up anywhere in journalism. I think you have to kind of put yourself out there and not be afraid of protecting like your own ego. You just have to kind of chase the stories you see fit. And sometimes you'll get shut down, but you'll get a lot of good stories through the process.
Right. And you mentioned golfers will know when I'm coming, they'll know what I kind of want to talk about most of the time, which brings me to building connections with all the golfers. Because, yes, there's so many that are fighting to get their tour card or on the Corn Ferry, but most of the time, the fans want to hear from the same 15 to 25 golfers. How do you build those connections with everyone who you're seeing on a weekly basis so that they can trust you to give you that data and maybe sit down and talk with you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, what I've found is that the more you're out there kind of helps, right? Because people get to know faces. They kind of get to know. You basically have like one sentence in people's mind that you get to occupy, right? And if I'm like Luke is the golf swing and nerdy guy, then that's just kind of when you see me a certain amount of times out there, I think some of these guys just associate that with me, so they know kind of generally what I'm going to ask for. And outside of that, it just comes down to the basics in the sense that just trying not cozying up to them too hard, like not trying to, not trying to be an apologist for them, just trying to be honest with them about what you're seeing and establishing some level of fairness and respect. Like I know this is squishy stuff, but I do think that's important, right? That you're not just going to be carrying their water for them. That's not what a journalist's job is. But you're also not there to do them dirty either, because that's not what a journalist's job is. So it's really just about, I think, just operating in a fair and honest way is something that there will be some short-term pain along the way, but I think people will, over time, people start to respect that you're kind of a fair operator. And that's really the only currency you have when it comes to when it comes to this.
Right. And another thing with that is golfers love when they can be relatable. And just for a lot of people, they like to talk about what they did. And if you bring something in from your golf background and say, hey, I did this, or talk about something that they did that they really enjoy, it almost is like that little small talk that fills the gap. And you
Right.
could then
Yeah.
trust them and they could trust you because, number one, you'll be credible in their mind. They'll say, oh, this guy really knows what he's doing. Let's talk with him more often. Hey, I like connecting with this guy. We really think about the swing in the same way or something like that. How do you get those little things across so it's not just, hey, I want to talk to you about this for for this topic this day. And that's it. It's I want to get the most out of you, but I care about you as more than just a golfer.
Yeah, I mean, well, for me, it's more like I'm, you know, I, like everybody has their own lives that they're doing with this stuff. Like these pro golfers, they have their lives. I have my own life. To me, golf is like the shared interest between us humans in this moment, right? And I just like they think about golf all day, every day, and they've gotten really good at it. I just want to know how you got really good at it. I'm not trying to like be your friend or whatever, you know. We all have our own lives here, but I just want, you know, we can bond over golf in this way. And this thing that you care about a lot, I also care about. And so let's just live in that space, right? Like I'm not trying to uncover like the emotions of Rory McIlroy. I'm just trying to figure out how Rory McIlroy hits his 6-iron so good, you know? And so like it's a different perspective than a lot of guys out there because I'm not necessarily interested in this like the humanity of a champion stuff. That's just not what I do. I'm focused on the tactical stuff a little more, and that's what I'm really interested in too. So just kind of being clear and honest about that's kind of my goal, and living in that space of like, yeah, I don't want to talk about macro stuff. I want to talk about golf, and just making that clear, I think has really helped me.
Right. And with golf being one of the more worldwide sports, and you're not from America where most of them are played. And how do you think you use your background to almost connect more with the guys and have more of a presence out there instead of just being and using that to your advantage?
Yeah, it's you know, during I found I don't think it makes a huge difference to be honest. Like I guess some people just generally bond like where you're from, but there is a little bit of that. Like the English guys just will recognize another English guy coming in me. And it really matters during Ryder Cup weeks, I feel like everybody gets their guards up a little bit more. And when they hear somebody talking with an accent or not talking with an accent, whatever, they go into their camps a little more. But yeah, like I said, I try to like in some ways these guys they're multi-million dollar professional athletes, incredibly gifted. They're CEOs of their own company, their game, you know, however you want to put it. This is what they do. Like I'm just the only thing in many ways we have in common is golf. So like the fact that he may be from England and I'm from England, I don't know that matters as much as just our shared passion for golf. That's kind of my perspective on it.
Right. And you mentioned the Ryder Cup in there, which is one of the more fun weekends of golf almost that a lot of people say that cover it and have been there. Something like the Masters, something like any major. Golf's supposed to be fun. You're supposed to have fun while covering it. What is one of your more memorable or most fun moments been while covering golf?
Man, so I was probably the most fun. The Rory McIlroy Masters win this year was pretty special, but I keep going back to the Phil Mickelson Kiawah Island victory. That was because as I was walking down 18, you could see this crowd swelling, and then the crowd just completely it was unplanned, and they just completely surrounded the 18th green, and I was in the crowd, and we were being ushered through them by police officers with a few other journalists, and that to me was a real that will stick with me. That was a real moment, you know, where oldest ever major champion. You didn't really think this could ever be done. You definitely didn't think Phil Mickelson would win another one. And to see it happen, and it was just this huge exhale from the crowd. That was something that will stick with me for sure.
Right. And then where do you think the future of golf is going? Because your content is geared toward every golfer. And a lot of these young golfers who you've taken data from and shared it has also relayed the data to the next generation of golf. So where do you think that generation is going, and where do you think the future of golf is going to end up?
I think golf and golfers are about to get a lot more kind of athletic, and not to say that golfers aren't ordinarily athletic, but you know, I think golf has always been lagging behind other sports in a lot of ways, right? Like these golfers were the last to get in the gym, and they were the last to use analytics, and and what we're seeing now is that as people are taking all these lessons from other sports, what you're just seeing is the golfer as an athlete and as a intelligent athlete too is just upgrading every time. Then there's not going to be these inefficiencies. You're not going to see guys getting on tour who are just have a decision, who have a mindset that isn't backed by like really good strategy. So this is we're going to see guys who are just more athletic than they were because they've been training and lifting since they've been 14 years old. Or, whereas in the past that didn't happen. Guys would get on tour and they just weren't really hitting the gym at all. So we're just about to see golfers morph into higher level athletes, I think. And it's going to be really exciting to see.
And that opens the door for so much more too. When you're so athletic, your body allows you to do so much more, hit some fun shots, hit the ball pretty far. And that comes with the positives and negatives there. It's going to be a lot more fun. But what are the positives? What are the cons of them going low and be able to hit the ball so far every time? And that's just how exciting it is to watch this next generation of golf. And some people we're already seeing it on the tour, but the turnover is about to be pretty cool with some of these young bucks.
Yeah, and I guess the negative is that it may get a little too cookie cutter, as everybody like in baseball, right? Like in some ways everybody's chasing the same kind of batter, the same kind of pitcher, whereas in golf may be similar. Whereas, when you look back in the 60s, 70s, there was just this huge diversity of types of golf, short hitters and long hitters and players who'd play holes this way because they thought it was, but now a lot of data is blowing a lot of these misconceptions up. And it's weeding out a lot of these substandard athletes too. So maybe the golfer might be getting a little more cookie cutter, but I don't necessarily buy that, and I don't necessarily buy that that's a bad thing either, because I think this game is crazy enough and interesting enough that we're always going to see wrinkles and all sorts of different guys doing all sorts of different things.
100%. There's so many different ways that you can make the same score on the same hole, that the game will always be able to have a ton of different players. Yeah. But to conclude here, we have the final 14 questions in a rapid fire pace.
Oh.
So let's get right into it. Who's your idol?
Idol. I kind of mentioned him earlier. Someone like Ezra Klein. He's a really impressive guy, and I'd love to meet him one day.
Favorite fast food?
Ooh, McDonald's. Love McDonald's.
Favorite school subject?
History. Big history nerd.
Biggest fear?
Claustrophobic. Tight spaces. I hate them.
Favorite hobby?
Does golf count? I guess golf's more of a profession. Strength training, lifting.
Favorite gym workout?
Oh, squats. They suck, but they're so good for you.
Favorite influencer or social media personality?
Ooh, good question. Jeff Nippard, really fun. Really find his stuff interesting.
Favorite musician?
Favorite musician, the Fratelli. Well, Oasis is my real favorite band, but Fratelli's is my more interesting favorite band.
Favorite animal?
Koalas. My daughter loves koala bears.
Favorite TV show?
Favorite Mad Men?
That's good. Biggest pet peeve?
Biggest pet peeve is when it's a green light, but somebody doesn't go when it's their turn to go. It drives me insane.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
A hot dog is a sandwich, I think. Yes.
Favorite emoji?
The poop emoji.
And then last but not least, are you a shower singer?
I'm not a shower singer. No one wants to hear me sing.
Like a drum, baby, don't stop.